Hi everybody, it's John Thompson. I'd like to welcome you today to another model I'm working on. This I just got today. It's a brand new toy that came in the mail. It is the Trumpeter USS England. It's a destroyer escort, 1/350th scale, and it's a little smaller than the Liberty ship that I worked on. Here it is. It's basically consisting of a two-piece hull where I have an upper and lower hull. You do have the waterline option. I decided to go for the full on this one. This is going to go in a diorama with the Liberty ship that I just completed. And I'd like to say so far, the hull went together very nicely. The hull, the deck, and the waterline. So this is actually three pieces that you're looking at joined together. Very nice kit so far. There is some photo etch that comes with it, although I do wish there was more photo etch that they would give you, but this is a nice model, and for the money, I've definitely got a good deal on it. The size and whatnot of it, the level of detail is there. I'm impressed, actually. I've never seen a 1/350th scale ship this size, so it's going to be an interesting project to work on. Next is probably going to come painting. I'm going to do a little bit of sanding on that joint. The joint is actually relatively smooth, and I'm not too unpleased with it at all. I'm going to put a boot topping on it, paint the bottom. I'm thinking probably either of doing a haze gray system or a naval camouflage consisting of the blue on the hull and the haze gray on the superstructure. So I'm kind of... Hi everybody, it's John Thompson again. I actually am in the next part of the advanced construction of the USS England. I'll show you the work I've done. It's really remarkable since the last video I shot. Here you can see I have done substantial work on the superstructure. All the parts in the kit have found their place. As you can see, she's got her screws on. I did the superstructure, and I did the armaments on board. Now, the one thing that you're going to notice in this kit when you get it is there is some photo etch, but that mainly is extended only to the depth charge racks, which are these guys here in the back, and these there are 8 pieces, I should say, across going to the stern. And as you can see, it's a fun model to build. Not a very big model, but I will have to add some rigging and some flags to make it more authentic. This is actually going to go in a shadow box next to my John W. Brown. And again, I did my waterline using the close-up method, where I painted up to the joint on the hull here, the upper and lower hulls, and hid that joint using paper strips colored black with magic marker, with a permanent magic marker, and that was not too bad, actually. The only thing I want to warn you on is when building this, and this is my fault too in the construction, that I attached the aft superstructure section, this whole area here. I attached this first as opposed to attaching the forward superstructure area here. Now, it does present an issue when putting the model together. One of the main issues was trying to get the parts in. Somehow I was able to get it to fit. The glue had set, so this was permanently bonded, and I put a lot of glue along the joint to get it to sit down. It didn't want to sit down perfectly level, so I had to put some pressure on it to get the part to sit level and square. There were some joints I want to point out. Forward where the bridge windows are here, on the starboard side, there was a joint I had to basically put a little pressure on to basically get the glue to grab, as well as along the port side. So you kind of had to massage the parts when they were put in place and check the alignments. The paint did help. I know along the front it did. The front of the forward superstructure. A lot of areas to paint on this thing. Now, what I tried to do was I painted the hull and deck only in the navy blue color. Now, I had just about enough paint. It was actually sludge that was left over in my Tamiya paint, which dried to a nice perfectly flat sheen. It was beautiful, but I didn't have enough paint to really get this thing painted. Now, there are a lot of holidays you have to watch out for on this because there's a lot of surface area. Now, what I did was I painted the superstructure as I installed it. So I did the aft superstructure and I painted that, and then I put the details on and then painted them in place. So I was kind of trying to work on this in what I call working in layers, where I put the weapons on last and the finer details on last. I want to get a basic model put together before actually doing the more complex detailed model. I like doing the details last if possible, where you can get access to them because you're handling a model and parts can break off, parts can get lost, and I have had that happen, especially with these depth charge racks. One of these parts here, one of these 8 here, I had an issue with one of the pieces falling into the carpet, so it unfortunately is a disruption to your model building, and therefore you have to stop and basically find the part. I'm very lucky I found it. I had it fall off again, and I found it a third time, so I made sure that it wouldn't fall off by putting a proper amount of glue holding the part in place. So little things like that. This kit itself, I would recommend. It's not a difficult kit. It's not terribly difficult. For somebody who's a beginner with photo etch, it's actually a good model. It has potential. The instructions for the photo etch, ironically, were actually pretty good. Even though it's very basic, they do sell aftermarket kits, so if you want to go and add the railings and all the other details that the ship actually had when in service, you could. This is a Buckley class destroyer escort, and so like I said, I'm going to be working a little bit. One of the other details I want to point out that was photo etched was this radar atop of the mast here. I used that as opposed to the stock kit part. It looks a lot better, and I happen to like how that looks a lot finer, and I like that the see-through look, so it gives it more of a realistic look. I'm going to have to rig this model next, and unfortunately, like the Liberty ship, I have found several models of this type of destroyer escort where you have 3 million ways to rig it, and it's confusing. So that's going to be the next thing. And of course, I want to put the decals on, which I'm going to probably do today. It's going to be the next stage of this. But I wanted to show you at least what I was going to do. Now, I was originally going to do the navy blue stripe on the hull and the haze gray superstructure. However, when I did this, I discovered that one, the ship never actually had that scheme. This is actually reflective of her 1944 outfitting. And the other thing, too, that I wanted to point out was the masking is a little bit tough because then you have to worry about lifting up paint. And I did use painter's tape, the blue painter's tape. Unfortunately, you get that thick, heavy buildup line. And so I just decided to scratch that idea because I had neutral gray to my neutral gray, and it was too dark. Didn't like the look of it, so I decided to go all navy blue and be consistent with the prototype. Other than that, that's about it. Like I said, it's not a bad kit. This is a good beginner's model to get somebody introduced to photo etch. I learned a lot by building this. It's funny. It's a fraction of the size of the USS New Jersey, and it's the same scale, which is kind of ironic. But like I said, definitely consider this as a good model. I also want to point out, too, that they give you spare prop struts and spare props, which was nice because they give you 2 of the same tree, and that's real good. So in case you mess up on your propellers and struts, you do get a spare. So anyway, this will conclude this recording, and have a great day.